You're listening to the 5-Minute Friday podcast episode of The Aligned Self. This is your host, Daniel J-N-O-V. Okay, 5-Minute Friday, a short and concise podcast episode of The Aligned Self, designed to leave you with a question, an idea, a strategy, a tip, a hack, in order to give you greater access to your conscious awareness, evolving your conscious awareness, or give you greater mastery over your mind. Well, friend, welcome into this 5-Minute Friday. If you've been listening right along, you probably know that I'm registering right now for my signature coaching program, The Aligned Self. And you probably know that I've been a coach for over 30 years. But I just recently had a question that I thought I would address in this 5-Minute Friday. How do I know I need a coach? Well, that question's actually very easy to answer. And my answer might surprise you, knowing that I am a coach. Nobody needs a coach, meaning that you could probably go to the end of your life, live your life just fine without ever experiencing a coach, without ever having a coach. You've had problems come up, you've had crises come up, and for better or worse, you've handled them. You could get along just fine without a coach. Now, you may want a coach because the right coach could make things a lot easier. They can streamline your progress, accelerate your success. They could help you or assist you in solving problems creatively, working around issues. Adopt a different mindset. Offer a different perspective. You see, as a human being, we have this persistent problem that all we know is all we know. What we don't know, we don't know it. It's not even on our radar. It's unconscious. We're not aware of different aspects of life. And I don't care how smart you are. I have blind spots. We all have blind spots, areas of our life that we can't see. Unconscious aspects that we're not present to. You see, we all have mental biases, patterns, and frames of references that we experience the world through. And when we adopt a particular frame of reference, it actually means we're excluding some other possibilities. How that shows up is that there are certain areas of your life that you tend to tolerate. You've accepted it even though it's not as good as you want it to be, not as good as you think it could be. But it's not so bad that you just can't tolerate it. Sometimes we don't even know how good we can have it. So in what situations might we want to coach? Well, if you've had a persistent problem, persistent stage of your life that has been kind of the same, you're losing your passion, you're losing a little luster for life, then you might want a coach to assist you in looking at, seeing, gaining awareness in those aspects, those areas which you are blind to or unaware of, unconscious to. And this is one area I think I can blow my horn in and understand that I might be a little biased, but if I have one superpower, it's that I can look at a presenting situation, a presenting issue, and I can identify the core issue, the core belief, the core circumstance inside, and it can be several layers deep, that if we shift that, then we're going to create a cascade effect, and it will impact every area of your life. So what else might you consider getting a coach for? Maybe you want to take on a specific skill set. If you're in business, maybe you want to amplify your marketing efforts or your sales process or create a process. There are coaches just for that. There are relationship coaches. There are cooking coaches, health coaches, fitness coaches. There's a coach for virtually everything. I think there are more coaches today than at any other point in history, and I believe the field's only growing. Another reason you might want to coach is that you've reached a level of success. You've done fairly well, and you want to get even better. And maybe you have trouble seeing what's possible. Just how high can you go? Or maybe you hit that plateau and you want to consider, what do I need to shift to up-level my game to a whole new level? What am I not seeing? Again, this is a blind spot. And those blind spots occur in just about all those areas, meaning relationships, fitness, health, we have blind spots everywhere. Now, my favorite clients to work with are those individuals that have reached a certain amount of success and they are curious about what's possible. They come with a certain amount of vulnerability, a certain amount of wonder about just how good can it be. One of my clients that I'm currently working with, her name is Dawn. I'm going to let you hear from her in just a little bit. But she's accomplished. She doesn't need a coach. Without my assistance, she's already a rock star. She was a rock star. She's a professional pilot. She's a coach. She's a president of a nonprofit with over 14,000 members. She's an author. And when she first inquired about the possibility of coaching, she decided that it wasn't for her. She begged off of it and said, she didn't want to spend the money, didn't have the time. And she had some not so elegant previous experiences with some other coaches. She laid out a lot of money, put out a big investment, and really didn't get much of a return. They just kind of treated her like another person, a number. And they weren't invested in her success. And she didn't really want to go through that again, yet she was kind of curious what I had to offer. And before I end this podcast, I will lay out 3 or 4 points that you need to look at when you're looking for a coach to decide whether or not that coach is a good fit for you. Well, heck, let's go there right now. How do you decide whether or not a coach is for you? Well, first and foremost, do they resonate with you? Do you resonate with them? Do you like their vibe? Do you like the energy they're putting out in the world? Secondly, are they transactional or transformational? And you need to look at their results, I guess, for that. But you can also trust your intuition. How does it feel? Does it feel just like they want your money? Or are they invested in your transformation? You can hear it in their languaging. You can sense it in their voice. Are they really interested in you? Or do they just want you as a client? A former student of mine laid out $16,000 for a big-name coach. Big name meaning you've seen them on the internet more than once, I'm sure, even if you're not a coach. And she didn't even actually begin coaching with that person specifically. One of his coaches that worked for him coached her. And she just didn't get the results that she was hoping for. She didn't get the connection. So when you choose a coach, you want them to be invested in your transformation, invested in you. 3, do they have the experience that is required to be a coach, to be your coach around the area that you would like coaching on? Now, they may not have the 30 years experience that I have, but there are coaches with 2 or 3 years of experience. Maybe they have a previous skill set, and they can bring that into their coaching, and they are in the perfect place to coach you to the next level. For the most part, you just need someone that is a few steps ahead of you that can guide you to the next position, the up-leveling that is required for your life. You don't necessarily need someone with 30 years experience, although sometimes it's helpful. For instance, if you're seeking a relationship coach, I would want a relationship coach that has been doing it for a while, and they've been in a relationship for several years. They've navigated the different ins and outs, the different phases, stages of a relationship that, the inevitable stages that a relationship goes through, the story arcs, I guess you could say. I mean, personally, I would be hard-pressed to have a coach around relationships that, say, has only been married for 3 years, and they're coaching around how to have a successful marriage. Well, they have hardly begun. Another approach is maybe you want to start a business and you're seeking a business coach, and maybe you have kids, you have children. You're going to want a coach that has navigated the business world with kids. Because I have to tell you, there are some successful coaches, but they have 0 kids, they have 0 family, and they have a husband that supports them. Like they're not dependent upon their coaching money. I guess the bottom line is, do they have the credibility to be the coach that you want them to be, the coach that you need? Number 4, are they directive or are they generative? Meaning, if they're generative, do they question you to results? Like, do they ask the right questions? Because maybe they don't have the answer. You have the answer within. A directive coach will tell you, almost give you advice, tell you exactly what you need to do in order to get the result. It's my personal opinion, and a lot of schools, a lot of coaching schools are teaching generative coaching where they're, question your way to success. You can get results. Sometimes it's not as fast as possible. The directive approach, where someone can tell you specifically what to do, sometimes that's not very flexible. Sometimes it doesn't work in your specific circumstance, and they only have one approach. They only have one point of view. Personally, I like to use both. I can be directive and I can be generative. You see, I've been doing this long enough to where I can see a pattern, and I know exactly how it's going to unfold. Part of that is my intuition. Part of that is my experience. I also have the flexibility to ask questions because I meet you in your model of the world. I guess that would be number 5. We'll get to that in just a couple minutes. But some coaches are afraid of giving direct advice. But one thing that I do that's a little different, that when I give direct advice, I ask you to check in with yourself. How does that feel? How does that resonate with you? I just don't tell you what to do. I have you check in because I appreciate your intuition. I appreciate your own internal guidance. So now we're at number 5, and that is make sure that the coach that you select meets you or can meet you in your model of the world. You see, there's 7 billion people on the planet, 7 billion different points of view. No two people have the same brain. No two people have the same point of view. And so you want a coach that has the mental flexibility to adjust their approach to meet you where you are, to look at it from your point of view. When that doesn't happen, typically the coach, the psychiatrist, the psychologist will say, oh, the client is just resistant, meaning that the client isn't playing the game. Like, here's the rules, here's what we're supposed to do, and they're not doing it. You want the coach to have the mental flexibility to meet you in your world, to look at things from your point of view. They have the emotional intelligence to understand where you're coming from. Nowhere is there greater evidence than in the educational system. There are some teachers that have one standard approach. They only teach one way. And most of you have had that experience in the educational system. You've had teachers that you resonated with and you flourished. You did well. And then other teachers that you just didn't get them. You didn't get their approach. They were boring. You got lost because they only had a hammer and they treated everything like a nail. So you want a coach that has a lot of tools in their toolbox, and that the fact that they have the mental flexibility to adapt to changing situations, changing points of view. To me, that's the whole creative aspect of coaching, because I get to step outside of my mind and try on your brain. And let me tell you, it's a trip. Number 6, you want a coach that has an orientation to results, that they will take you to a specific result that you both agree on the front end. It's not open, it's not vague, it's not arbitrary, it's not just some coaching. You are working towards a specific result. And 7, you want them to have some sort of guarantee. Now, I don't give money back on the coaching packages. I want you to do your due diligence. I want you to make sure and certain that you're committed to the coaching process. And then I guarantee that I'll show up. And if you don't get the result in the set time that I feel, or that the time that we agree on, I will continue to work with you for free until you get your result. Again, that's because I have an orientation to results. I'm invested in your transformation, not the transaction. The bottom line in selecting a coach is realizing that you're entering into a relationship. And just like any successful relationship, both parties need to be committed to show up 100%. It's not the 50-50 like you've all heard, because 50% and 50% is just 50%. I think I'll do a quick podcast episode over the weekend here on how to be a good client, how to be a good student. Because there are considerations that if you have certain things going on in your life, maybe you shouldn't take a coach on. Maybe you shouldn't take a course. But then again, maybe you should. So like I promised, I'm going to leave you with the words from Dawn. Dawn has a little testimonial that she recorded for me. And I want you to remember that on the front end of this agreement, she didn't think she needed it. She didn't really want to put the money out. And frankly, she didn't need it. But she got to a point where she thought she wanted it. and this is how it turned out.
Hi there, my name is Dawn Cook, and I am a client of Daniel. And I have to say, I've had coaches before, and it's been frustrating. There's very little or no return on investment. It's a lot of financial investing on my end and not seeing the results that I was promised or even just expecting. And living in expectations and agreements are very different, but working with Daniel, this was a game changer. Honestly, this was a game changer, helping me pivot my perspective, helping me adjust my habits, helping me see things that I just didn't know were possible, or even just being there to answer the questions that just didn't make sense to me. I'm a very practical, realistic person. He's helped me to surrender, to change my ways, but not my goal. And I've been seeing results that I just didn't know were possible by utilizing more resources, asking the right questions, slowing down, the intuition that has always been there, but just masked by the go, go, go of our culture. So if you are ready to really step it up and you're ready for real coaching, I highly recommend that you work with Daniel. He has been an absolute blessing, a treasure, and he's helped change my life.
Okay, last but not least, when choosing a coach, make sure they have satisfied customers, they have testimonials. Okay, that's it. Until next time. Oh, if you're interested in the Align Self Signature Coaching Program, go to yesdaniel.com and follow the link and learn more about the program. So until next time, this is your friend and host, Daniel Danovi, urging you to follow your bliss, live your life from inner signals as you pursue the epic adventure.